Welcome to the Shadow of History channel. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out more videos like this one. In 1991, a young boy stood before a toppled statue of Vladimir Lenin in Ethiopia, silently marking the collapse of the Mengistu regime and the end of decades of communist rule in the country. Known as Jack the Baboon, this South African railway signalman worked at his station for nearly a decade in the late 1800s, operating signals and changing points without ever making a single mistake throughout his entire career. In 1969, a Brooklyn police officer went undercover, dressed as a woman in an innovative effort to catch muggers and sex offenders as street crime continued to rise across New York City. At the 1980 Moscow Olympics, a group of performers created a breathtaking human torch formation during the opening ceremony, blending synchronized precision with national pride in a spectacle that left viewers worldwide in lasting awe. Captured during the 1930s, this Depression-era portrait shows a working-class couple whose composed expressions and steady posture quietly reflect the resilience of everyday Americans navigating widespread economic hardship. Issued on August 1, 1868, this check for $7.2 million finalized the United States' purchase of Alaska from Russia, a deal once mocked as Seward's folly that ultimately transformed the nation's future. During the brutal Battle of Iwo Jima in 1945, a U.S. Marine paused amid the Pacific Theater's violence to offer a cigarette to a Japanese soldier, buried in the sand, capturing a rare human moment in wartime. On September 6, 1870, 69-year-old Louisa Ann Swain arrived at a Wyoming polling station to buy yeast and instead became the first woman in the United States to legally cast a ballot in a general election since 1807. Photographed by Arctic explorer Robert Peary sometime between the 1880s and 1890s, this intimate image shows an Inuit man warming his wife's feet, offering a rare glimpse into the resilience and warmth of family life in the extreme Arctic. In 1917, American sculptor Anna Coleman Ladd founded the Red Cross Studio for portrait masks in Paris, creating thin painted copper masks with real hair for soldiers who had suffered devastating facial injuries during World War I. Photographed in Louisiana in 1938, a man posed with his wife and their 13 children, offering a glimpse into the domestic strength and resilience required to sustain a large rural family during the height of the Great Depression. Licensed in Washington State through a legal loophole despite holding no medical degree, Linda Burfield Hazard ran the Olalla Sanitarium, where dozens of patients died under extreme fasting regimens before her 1912 manslaughter conviction. In 1950s Leicester, England, smoke from coal fires and factory chimneys blanketed the skyline as coal-powered homes, businesses, and industry, capturing the industrial character of post-war Britain in a single frame. This humble log cabin in Hodgenville, Kentucky, marks the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln on February 12, 1809, standing as a modest but powerful symbol of the frontier origins that shaped the future 16th President of the United States. On August 24, 1925, Jolly Marie, weighing 620 pounds, claimed victory in the Big Girls Contest at Luna Park on Coney Island, winning a $25 prize and a season pass to the park. Before the Statue of Liberty was assembled, sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi crafted its iconic face in workshops in France, and this rare image captures that colossal symbol of freedom still in pieces before its journey to America. In 1936, baseball legend Lou Gehrig auditioned for the role of Tarzan alongside his New York Yankees career, but studio executives decided his famously stocky athletic build did not match Hollywood's vision of the jungle hero. Taken in 1846, this is the oldest known photograph of the White House, offering a rare mid-19th century glimpse of the presidential residence, decades before it became the enduring symbol of American government the world knows today. During World War I, the French army supplied its troops at Gallipoli with thousands of barrels of wine as part of standard military rations, reflecting the widespread practice of issuing alcohol to soldiers for sustenance and morale. Built in Turin, Italy, the Fiat factory featured a fully operational test track on its rooftop, where engineers drove vehicles to assess performance. And quality before cars left the facility, a remarkable example of early industrial innovation. This is William Hutchings, one of the last surviving veterans of the American Revolutionary War. Photographed at the remarkable age of 100, a living human link between the founding of the United States and the modern nation it became. Ahmet Ali Shalikten, widely recognized as one of the first black pilots in history, trained and flew for the Ottoman Empire during World War I, breaking profound racial barriers in the earliest years of military aviation. On October 27, 1904, New York City opened its very first subway line, stretching from City Hall to 145th Street, transforming how millions of New Yorkers traveled and laying the foundation for one of the world's largest transit systems. Completed in Chicago in 1885, the Home Insurance Building rose 10 stories as the world's first skyscraper, pioneering the steel frame construction technique that would forever transform city skylines across the globe. Emma Lillian Todd, born in Washington, D.C. in 1865, earned her place in history as the first woman to design an airplane, breaking barriers in aeronautical engineering at a time when the field was almost entirely dominated by men. John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, became the first American president ever photographed when this image was captured in 184, more than a decade after he had left the White House. This early proposed firefighting suit was designed to protect emergency workers by continuously drenching them in water, a creative if unconventional solution that highlighted the inventive spirit driving early fire safety engineering. Herman the Cat earned the official title of expert mouser while serving aboard a U.S. Coast Guard vessel during World War II, protecting the ship's food supplies, controlling rodents, and boosting the crew's morale throughout the conflict. This photograph of Times Square in 1921 captures the bustling heart of New York City, already alive with commerce, entertainment, streetcars, and pedestrians, revealing the vibrant urban energy that would define the area for generations to come. On March 4, 1861, Abraham Lincoln took the presidential oath of office at his first inauguration, assuming the nation's highest office just weeks before the outbreak of the Civil War that would define his entire presidency. On its 50th anniversary in 1987, the Golden Gate Bridge opened its roadway exclusively to pedestrians, drawing over 300,000 people to walk across the iconic span and celebrate half a century of engineering history. During World War II, Walt Disney collaborated on the design of a Mickey Mouse-themed gas mask intended to make the terrifying necessity of air raid protective equipment feel less frightening and more approachable for young children. Designed to protect workers retrieving golf balls from driving ranges, this armored suit shielded them from errant shots, transforming a genuinely dangerous task into a safer job through an approach that looked remarkably medieval in its construction. Taken in 1860 from roughly 2,000 feet above Boston, James Wallace Black's aerial photograph became the first ever captured in the United States, shot from a hot air balloon entitled Boston, as the eagle and the wild goose see it. This glimpse inside a college dormitory from the 1910s reveals the spare, modest living conditions of early 20th century student life, with simple furnishings and practical layouts that reflected the focused academic culture of the era. This photograph documents the gutting and complete interior reconstruction of the White House in the late 1940s, a sweeping renovation that added modern plumbing and electrical systems while carefully preserving the building's historic exterior walls. taken in 1931 from the newly opened Empire State Building, then the world's tallest structure. This photograph captures a sweeping view of downtown Manhattan's dense skyline, bustling streets, and early 20th century urban landscape stretching below. Long before modern preservation laws existed, tourists once climbed the Great Pyramid of Giza freely, sunbathing, picnicking, and even holding tea parties atop the ancient structure in a dramatically different era of archaeological tourism. In 1969, Niagara Falls was partially drained to allow workers to remove accumulated boulders, revealing the rocky riverbed and unexpectedly uncovering the remains of 2 missing persons in a rare and dramatic engineering undertaking. Taken in 1839 by Robert Cornelius at the back of his family's Philadelphia lamp shop, this self-portrait is widely considered the first photographic selfie ever made, with Cornelius sitting motionless for several minutes to capture his own image. In 1903, Edward Llewellyn made sport fishing history off the coast of Catalina Island by landing the largest sea bass ever recorded, a magnificent fish that tipped the scales at an astonishing 425 pounds. On September 3, 1967, Sweden completed one of history's largest traffic system overhauls as the entire nation switched from driving on the left side of the road to the right in an event officially known as Dagen H. Taken shortly before his death in 1845, this is one of the very few known photographs of President Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, making it an exceptionally rare visual record of a towering figure in early American politics. This photograph shows Charlotte and Marjorie Collier, a mother and daughter who survived the sinking of the Titanic in 1912, though they lost Charlotte's husband, Harvey Collier, along with their entire life savings of 5,000 pounds in the disaster. Economy class air travel in the 1960s offered relatively compact seating aboard commercial aircraft, as airlines expanded access to flight for more passengers while still reflecting the particular standards of comfort and service characteristic of that era. Norma Smallwood of Tulsa, Oklahoma was crowned Miss America in 1926, winning the title during a period when the pageant was gaining rapid national attention and shaping popular ideas of beauty and poise across the United States. On March 4, 1865, Abraham Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address during the final months of the Civil War, calling for national reconciliation in what would prove to be one of his last major public appearances before his assassination. Discovered in Australia in 1869, the welcome stranger nugget weighed nearly 160 pounds of nearly pure gold, making it the largest gold nugget ever found and a legendary symbol of the enormous wealth unleashed by the Australian gold rush. The Willamette meteorite, weighing 15.5 tons and composed primarily of iron, is the largest meteorite ever found in the United States and holds deep sacred significance for the Native American Clackamas people of Oregon. At Al Capone's 1931 tax evasion trial in Chicago, spectators, many believed to be connected to organized crime, shielded their faces with hats to avoid recognition, capturing the tense and shadowy atmosphere surrounding one of America's most notorious criminal proceedings. The catastrophic 1906 San Francisco earthquake, the deadliest in United States history with over 3,000 lives lost, was so powerful that it physically exposed the San Andreas Fault itself through visible cracks and dramatically displaced streets across the city. Among the luxuries aboard the RMS Titanic was a fully equipped gymnasium fitted with rowing machines, stationary bicycles, and other exercise apparatus, reflecting the ship's dedication to providing first-class passengers with every modern comfort at sea. In 1937, photographer Eric Salomon concealed his camera inside a fake arm sling to covertly capture the U.S. Supreme Court in session, producing one of only 2 known photographs ever taken of the justices at work inside the chamber. This 1933 photograph of Central Park reveals a landscape dotted with Hoovervilles, makeshift shantytowns named after President Herbert Hoover, where thousands of unemployed and homeless New Yorkers had built shelters during the depths of the Great Depression. Installed beneath the Golden Gate Bridge during its 1930s construction, the safety net became known as the Halfway to Hell Club, after saving the lives of 19 workers who fell from the structure, pioneering new standards for worker safety on large-scale projects. Originally converted from a collier ship in the early 1920s, the USS Langley became the United States Navy's first aircraft carrier before being scuttled by her own crew in 1942 after sustaining heavy Japanese air attacks in the Pacific Theater. Photographed around 1873, when he was approximately 20 years old, this rare image shows Vincent van Gogh before his fame, at a time when the future creator of Starry Night was still working as an art dealer and exploring painting. Albert Wolson, who enlisted as a teenage drummer boy for the Union Army during the Civil War, lived to the age of 106, passing away in 1956 as the last verified surviving veteran of that defining American conflict. This image from 1883 captures the first international tennis match at Wimbledon, where the English brothers William and Ernest Renshaw defeated American opponents Clarence M. Clark and J.S. Clark, marking an early milestone in the tournament's rise to global prominence. In 1966, NASA's unmanned lunar orbiter 1 became the first spacecraft to photograph Earth from the Moon's vicinity while scouting potential Apollo landing sites, giving humanity its first extraordinary glimpse of our home planet from that extraordinary distance. This 1903 photograph documents the very first Tour de France, a grueling 6-stage bicycle race covering nearly 1,500 miles, originally staged to boost newspaper sales, but destined to become one of the world's most celebrated sporting events. Taken in Paris in 1838 by Louis Daguerre, this is the first known photograph to capture a human being, a man standing still long enough during the long exposure to be recorded while having his shoes shined on an otherwise empty street. French biologist Louis Bouton produced one of the earliest known underwater photographs in 1899, developing specialized equipment to capture marine life beneath the surface at a time when both photography and underwater exploration were still in their infancy. Taken in 1925 in Morocco's Atlas Mountains, this photograph is believed to be the last known image of a Barbary lion in the wild, documenting the final glimpse of a magnificent subspecies that would soon vanish from nature forever due to hunting and habitat loss. Selma Burke, a sculptor and member of the Harlem Renaissance, born in 1900 in North Carolina, created the bas-relief portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1944 that many historians believe served as the true model for the image on the American dime. Stefan Bobrovsky, known as Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, was born with hypertrichosis, a rare condition causing hair up to 8 inches long to cover his face and body, making him one of the most recognized performers in early 20th century circus history. The very first Ronald McDonald was created and portrayed in 1963 by Washington, D.C. television personality Willard Scott, with an original costume featuring a paper cup nose, a tray hat, and a food tray belt that looked quite unlike the global icon that followed. This is Gutzon Borglum's original scale model for Mount Rushmore, created before work began in the late 1920s, showing the 4 presidents with full upper bodies rather than just their heads. A grander vision scaled back due to funding shortages and the challenges of granite. A plane soared over the old city of Baghdad in this 1930 aerial photograph, offering a rare bird's-eye glimpse of the Iraqi capital's dense historic streets and traditional architecture during a period of rapid political and cultural transformation in the region. Documented after Mahatma Gandhi's assassination in 1948, This photograph shows his final possessions: 2 pairs of sandals, 2 bowls, eyeglasses, a book, and a few other modest items, arranged carefully on canvas-covered steps, speaking volumes about a life defined by purpose over possession. Doris Miller, a black sailor barred from combat roles in the segregated U.S. Navy, became a national hero during the 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor by manning anti-aircraft guns and carrying wounded shipmates to safety before being killed in action in 1943. Elijah McCoy, born in Ontario in 1843, overcame significant racial barriers in post-Civil War America to invent a revolutionary lubrication cup, transformed the railroad industry, with engineers demanding the real McCoy to distinguish his reliable designs from inferior imitations. Assata Shakur, born Joanne Deborah Byron in 1947, and the godmother of rapper Tupac Shakur, was convicted in connection with the 1973 shooting of a New Jersey state trooper, escaped from prison in 1979, and has lived in Cuba under political asylum ever since. During Game 3 of the 1932 World Series at Wrigley Field, Babe Ruth made a gesture toward the outfield before hitting a massive home run to center, field off pitcher Charlie Root, sparking one of baseball's most enduring and debated legends ever since. Henry Johnson of the Harlem Hellfighters fought off a larger German raiding party single-handedly during a 1918 night patrol in World War I, saving his comrade's life and earning France's highest military honor, the Croix de Guerre, before dying at just 36 in 1929. Born on August 1, 1877, George Hackenschmidt was a champion wrestler and strongman widely credited with inventing the bench press, whose innovative approach to strength training helped lay the foundation for modern weightlifting and bodybuilding as we know them today. Ram Dass, born Richard Alpert in Boston in 1931, rose to prominence as a Harvard psychologist and early LSD advocate before traveling to India, adopting his spiritual name, and becoming a beloved author best known for his transformative work Be Here Now. This is one of the last known photographs of a Tasmanian tiger, a species that vanished forever when the final known individual died in captivity at Hobart Zoo in 1936, ending the existence of the largest carnivorous marsupial of modern times. John Chapman, better known as Johnny Appleseed, was born in 1774 and became an American folk hero by cultivating orchards and planting apple trees across the Midwest for settlers, living a life of genuine purpose before his death in 1845 at the age of 70. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, born in 1916 and serving as a sniper for the Soviet Red Army during World War II, recorded 309 confirmed kills, making her the most successful female sniper ever documented in the history of armed conflict. Nikola Tesla, born in 1856 as an ethnic Serb from what is now Croatia, developed the alternating current electricity system that still powers homes and businesses worldwide, yet died alone and in poverty in New York City in 1943 despite his world-changing contributions. Photographed during its 1912 maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City, this is the last known image of the Titanic afloat, captured just 3 days before the ship struck an iceberg and sank, killing more than 1,500 of its passengers and crew. On September 5, 1986, 22-year-old flight attendant Nirya Banat died while shielding children from gunfire during the hijacking of Pan Am, Flight 73 in Karachi, having already hidden American passengers' passports to protect them from the hijackers. The 1919 Black Sox scandal shocked the sporting world when 8 Chicago White Sox players were found to have conspired with gamblers to intentionally lose the World Series, leading to the permanent banning of all 8 players and the creation of baseball's commissioner's office. Richard Bong, born in 1920 and flying over 200 combat missions in World War II, shot down 40 enemy aircraft to become one of the conflict's top fighter aces, earning the Medal of Honor before dying tragically in a training accident on August 6, 1945. In 1957, 15-year-old Elizabeth Eckford of the Little Rock Nine walked alone toward Central High School in Arkansas through a hostile mob, and photojournalist Will Counts captured her remarkable composure in an image that became one of the defining photographs of the civil rights movement. John Libera, born in Rome in 1884 with a parasitic twin attached to his abdomen, became a well-known performer in freak shows across Europe and the United States, often appearing alongside his twin in matching suits until his death around 1934 to 1936. Hans Langseth of Norway began growing his beard at age 19 and did not stop until it reached an astonishing 17 feet and 6 inches in length, earning him the record for the longest beard in history before his death in 1927. Esther Jones, born around 1919 in Chicago, is widely believed to have inspired the cartoon character Betty Boop, though her famous phrase was later popularized by white actress Helen Kane, leaving Jones largely unrecognized for her contribution until long after her 1984 death. Jacqueline Jenkins Nye, born in 1921 and mother of Bill Nye, was recruited by the U.S. Navy as a code breaker during World War II, where her team cracked codes critical to the war effort, including one that helped fighter pilots target Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor. Rocky Dennis, born December 4, 1961, with craniodiaphyseal dysplasia that severely distorted his facial bones, defied doctors' predictions of an early death by living until the age of 16 and inspiring the 1985 film Mask with his humor and quiet strength. Hedy Lamarr, born in Austria-Hungary in 1914 and celebrated as a Hollywood actress, co-developed spread-spectrum technology after moving to the United States, laying the scientific groundwork for modern Bluetooth and Wi-Fi communications before her death in 2000. Harry Haft, a Jewish boxer born in Poland in 1925, survived Nazi concentration camps by winning approximately 76 forced fights arranged for the entertainment of guards, knowing that his defeated opponents were often executed, before continuing his boxing career in the United States after the war. On May 29, 1953, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary became the first confirmed people to stand atop Mount Everest, with Hillary photographing Norgay raising his ice axe in triumph, the only summit image taken, as Norgay offered to photograph Hillary, but Hillary declined. Salvador Dalí, born in Spain on May 11, 1904, became one of the 20th century's most celebrated surrealist artists, as famous for his eccentric public behavior, including walking an anteater through the streets of Paris, as for iconic works like The Persistence of Memory. Edward Curtis, born in Wisconsin in 1868, dedicated decades of his life to photographing nearly 100 Native American tribes, producing over 40,000 images that preserved vital cultural records during a period when many indigenous traditions faced the threat of being lost forever. George Bolt, born in Prussia in 1851, built a magnificent 120-room castle on Hart Island in the St. Lawrence River as a symbol of his love for his wife Louise, but halted construction permanently when she died unexpectedly at just 42 years old. In 1953, photographer Hy Peskin captured a relaxed and sun-kissed Senator John F. Kennedy and his fiancée Jacqueline Bouvier aboard the sailboat Victoria at Hyannis Port, producing an image that ran as the first of 20 JFK covers in Life magazine and helped shape a new kind of political image for America.